Hey Taylor, thanks for coming on the channel. It's funny, we got two Taylors. We have Taylor O and Taylor R. So, hopefully this won't get too confusing, but so nice to have you on the channel. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm
Good.
super excited to dive into our conversation specifically on candid dating, which I think is one of the hottest, if not the hottest, full stop Catholic dating apps that are taking the world by storm. So,
Thank
yeah, this is
you.
going to be a great conversation. We can just kick it off and just start rudimentary. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background. Obviously, you're Catholic, but fill in some of those gaps for us.
Yeah, sure. I'm cradle Catholic. Was raised by a school teacher and a football coach. So we grew up in public schools and had a really great Catholic upbringing. My dad was actually not Catholic. He converted the year I got confirmed. So got to watch his conversion throughout my life, which was really awesome and really impactful. And like I said, he was a coach. So I went to school out at Texas Tech and I worked in football. That is my day job, if you will. That's my background. So starting a dating app was not on my path. It was not anything that I necessarily set out to do, but kind of landed in my lap, and I felt the Lord calling us to do it. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But moved back home after school, and like I said, worked in football operations. Met my absolutely wonderful husband, and got married. Started Candid, and like I said, we can talk about the rest. But that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I will say I saw a picture of your husband on your Instagram, and that's like the definition of, my channel's called Trad Chad, a
Yes.
traditional Chad. I'd say he looks like a Trad Chad, especially when he's got the mustache. But I
Yeah.
feel like that's a perfect segue because you talked about Candid, it fell in your lap, it was out of your
Yeah.
wheelhouse. So tell us, how did this football oriented, Catholic raised
Sure.
person creating this dating app?
Yeah. So after college, I was engaged to my college boyfriend. Shortly into our engagement, we called the wedding off, and that was like a really interesting time for me. It was a lot of suffering, but a lot of healing too. So I spent a lot of time in adoration with our Lord, and just said, this was like what I thought my life would look like. Clearly, that's not where you're calling me. So if you would please show me, like, put my heart back together, but then also showed me what this is supposed to look like. And he was not Catholic, and that was why we ended up calling it off. And so as I re-entered the dating scene, I really wanted to meet that community of like-minded women specifically that I had never really had. Like I said, we were raised in public schools, and so a lot of my friends are Protestant, which they're great. I'm still really good friends with a lot of them to this day, but I just never had that Catholic community. And so I started an Instagram page called Candid Communion, where I connected with girls. Really, it ended up being like all over the country, but I hosted meetups and things here in the DFW, and that was really fun. I'm from the Dallas Fort Worth area, and so as I started hosting these events and posting them on Instagram, guys would be like, "Hey, see that you're with a bunch of these ladies. Could you introduce me?" And the ladies and I were always talking about why it really sucks dating as a Catholic, and like why the Catholic dating scene isn't as good as it could be. And so I had this kind of unique bird's eye view of like the Catholic women were here and they were fun, normal, like wanting a fun, normal Catholic guy. And then I also saw the guys side that were sliding in like, "Hey, can you like hook us up with your friends?" And so this was right after COVID, and thought like, why don't we just put everyone in the same room and introduce the men and the women and show that each side is looking for each other. And so I posted something to my story that was like, "Hey, I'm just going to be hosting like a speed dating event virtually," and got 400 signups in 48 hours. It was insane. Like, I was not equipped to host that many people, but one thing that it showed was that obviously this was a need, and people weren't getting their needs met on the traditional apps. Like, we were ready for a little bit more connection, what we found. And so I hosted a speed dating event via a website that we found in my school computer lab, and it was awesome. Basically, it was just like round robin. People could just go from person to person and meet similarly to like what we're doing right now. And so after that, we did it 3 times, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. My friend Nathan, who actually ended up meeting his wife through that process, and they're now my co-founders, my partners. He said, "Hey, I have this dev team that's overseas. If you'd like to use them, they're already paid for. They just finished a project for me. See if they can build something for you that you're trying to build." And so I worked with an awesome team out of India, and they helped me build basically what Candid's like very beta test version was, and that was a speed dating app that you can meet Catholics round robin style, and that was an awesome experience. But I was like, Lord, I am going to need a lot more help if this is something you're calling me to. And so I ended up throughout the course of the next year meeting my husband, meeting my business partners, and sought out to fulfill the mission that like I felt the Lord was calling me on. Like, how could I really make a difference for people and single Catholics, because clearly there was this need, and I seemed to be kind of in the middle of it all. And then also knowing that if the Lord was going to keep putting these tools and these people in my path, that I was called to act on it, and that I would have to answer someday if I did or I didn't. So that's kind of how we got started. And like I said, that we can talk more on how we've progressed, but that's like the very early. That was almost, I guess, 4 years ago now.
So you didn't even have to pay the dev team because they already
If
paid for it on another project? That's
you
crazy.
can believe that, I didn't. That was crazy. But I remember I was sweeping. I have this like very vivid image. I was sweeping the floor in our kitchen, and I was so mad because I hadn't heard from them in a few months. And I was like, Lord, you asked me to do this. Like, I worked with them. It was like at nighttime. We did not speak the same language. Like, there were so many hurdles that we jumped through, and like it just ends here. And I'm kind of okay with that because clearly this is going to be really challenging. But also, like, why did I do all of that? And then literally almost instantly after I kind of like had that conversation, I got a ping from them, and they sent me the final version, and they were like, "Hey, we finished this for you. Like, here you go." So yeah, that was crazy, and also very much like a sign, if you will, that there was more to be acted on. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah,
It's just like the tagline is like group of developers in India create Catholic dating app for free miraculously. Like
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, and we'll touch on this more later, but I think one of the really cool things about this service is that it organically grew from like a Catholic ladies community into a dating app or service, which is awesome because pretty much every single app, whether we're talking the secular apps, the Catholic apps, the Christian apps, they all suffer from really uneven ratios when you compare guy to girl because there's so many guys and so few girls, but your app basically flips those. It's like there's almost like too many girls, which is a really good problem to have. But
yeah,
I'm totally getting ahead of myself.
it's
So,
okay.
this sounds awesome. It all fell into your lap. Like, dare I say, divine providence kind of took care of you and got this thing off the ground. Just kind of like where you were coming from. Why did you feel specifically that candid dating is something that the Catholic dating world needed, as opposed to like what we can say Catholic Match or Talkify or 3 Day Rule or us matchmaking by return? Like, why did you feel like those are good and we need candid as well?
Yeah, I think in that time period that I mentioned, when I was re-entering the dating scene, if you will, I tried the swiping, and I didn't like it. Like, I just personally, I didn't like it. I could see how it played on me as a woman, and like could tug on the maybe insecurities or the like natural downfalls that we can be tempted into. So I didn't like that. I didn't like that it seemed kind of gamified in a way. And I know that like big tech in all these out, like you have to make money, right? So you have to make it something stick. But I didn't like that. I didn't like being a consumer in that way. Like, I was just like breadcrumbing everything. And then also it really lacked connection to me. Um, and so one thing that we did with the speed dating, whenever we did like the round robin style, was everyone you had to show up as yourself. You could not hide. Um, you couldn't present yourself one way and then talk for 3 weeks or whatever through some DMs, get to know someone, and realize that they were absolutely no way that they presented themselves through the photos and like the taglines and the like punchy little what have you that you can like pose yourself in a swiping app. Like, you had to show up and be real, raw, and authentic. And that was something that I think made people really like us in the beginning, like whenever we introduced that concept, like you said, organically. um, and then also I can see how people, if they're not totally comfortable, how that would be like an area that they would maybe be called to grow in, like not
Mhm.
hiding
Yeah.
behind the profile.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to catfish someone when you have to do a live Zoom call for
Yeah,
5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. So yeah,
totally.
that's great. And I'd probably add, like, I just think your service sounds like it's amazing. I've actually had a ton of my clients try it.
Thank
And I
you.
feel like one of the great things is, I mean, number one, even if you don't get any matches, you just got a ton of experience. You just talked to 5 or 6 amazing Catholic gals in one
Right.
evening. And a lot of these guys, they haven't talked to 5 or 6 single Catholic girls in like their entire life. So just the experience is amazing. But then also dead profiles, that's not something that you have to deal with. You mutually like each other, but nothing comes from it, no conversation. You get ghosted or you ghost the other person. So just
Yeah.
yeah, it's all really good. So I'm
Thank you.
curious then. Okay, so this sounds great. What the Taylors are saying sounds fantastic. Walk me through. I'm a Catholic man. I'm single. I want to use the service. So kind of walk me through what that would look like from signing up on a computer or on my phone to going on a date with a Catholic girl.
Yeah, absolutely. So, whenever you log onto our website, you would create an account, and it's basically just like a series of onboarding questions, just like you would do in any other app. Gets us a little bit of information on you, and then from there, you submit that information to us. It has to be approved. That's one way that we filter out catfishers, and we do get some, but it's approved by one of us. And then once your account is approved, you're able to see a list of events that are curated to you. So we take that information that you give us and it's basically like put into our algorithm that we've created. And you could see a different list of events than I could see based on your, age, location, interests. So you're able to see a list of events that you, for lack of a better word, qualify for or that you could sign up for. And then you book an event, the date and time that you book the event, you show up, same place back on our website, and you are basically guided through a series of dates. And you meet 5 to 7, if we're talking to guys, 5 to 7 women for 5 to 7 minutes at a time. And then after each conversation that you have with each woman, you're able to give us feedback. So either you really enjoy the conversation and you'd like to talk again, or it wasn't a fit for you. And then at the end of the event, you can finalize all of your feedback. And then if there are mutual matches, you'll get a notification and an email that lets you know that you have a match or a few matches. And then from there, you're able to message via Candid. So just like, again, any other app, we do cap that. So you're not able to send messages unlimitedly, but you're able to chat and exchange as little or as much information as you would like. And then from there, it would be on you to take it off Candid. So we like to say we're just here to make the introduction and we provide you a place to meet other people, but it's still on you. We don't want to take away, like your first ask or whatever, however you like to do that with the ladies. So yeah, it ends there with us. And then you would go meet in person or FaceTime or Zoom or however you want to do it. And if it works out, then that's great. And if it doesn't, we're still here. If you want to start over, try again.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Is there like a premium version of the app? Because I know, let's just say an app like Tinder, there's like free, then there's gold, platinum, and then like a super fancy $500 per month. Are there any sort of tiers, or how does Candid work?
Yes. So we just started beta testing our app that will launch next month. And so on the actual app that will be downloadable in the App Store, we will have different tiers of different premiums that you can get. A few features that we're going to have. We're going to have help with a matchmaker. So something that's always asked of us is like, can you help us with one-liners and icebreakers? And can you help me see like why maybe I'm not having as much luck. We have that feature added in. We'll also serve you some candid connections is what we call them, where we will introduce you to some people maybe not inside of a video date event, and you'll have the opportunity to meet them one-on-one outside of an event. Those are maybe the only two that I'll share. You'll have to like come back and download the app
Uh,
if you want to see more.
yeah,
But yeah,
we'll have to wait. Do you know when that's going live?
beginning of September.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
So
and if you
unless
follow us on socials, we'll be posting all about it.
what's your username on socials?
Candid_dating.
Okay, perfect. So everybody can go
Yeah,
find them.
thank you.
Um, so that's interesting. The matchmaking kind of like it almost sounds like coaching. Like, would that be fair to call it a little bit of coaching?
Similar to, yeah. That was one thing that we did at Seek. People were asking us, we hosted a big event at Seek last year, and it was towards the end of the week. And something that we got from men and women, but mostly men, which I really appreciated and admired, was they were like, hey, I want to kind of brush up brush up on my skills before I talk to all these women and before I'm like thrown in there. And so we started date coaching, and people kept asking for it. So we made it one of our services over the last 6 months, and it got a great response. People really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's definitely something we want to give our users.
What do you normally tell guys who, let's just say they went to one event, all five of their speed dates stunk for whatever reason?
Sure.
Like, do you have common mistakes or best practices that, that you can just spit off the top of your head and be like, hey, this is some stuff that you should look out for?
You would have some awesome advice on that, I know. I would say we always tell you, like, keep an open mind, right? Like if you're out in the wild, if you will, like the first five women that you see at a coffee shop or at a bar, like may or may not be somebody that you hit it off with. So I would say, while we are helping filter, those women for you based on like your preferences, we always like to say keep an open mind. Like you just never know what could be on the other side. You never know what someone's day was like, or next woman you can meet would be.
Yeah. My advice for guys would be
Give it to them.
I I think a good thing to do is when you're doing these 5 to 7 minute speed dates, I feel like guys can get into like the platonic like interrogation mindset where it's like, where do you live? What do you do for work? How many siblings do you have? What do you do for fun on the weekend? And it's like it's much better to be. I always tell guys like some light teasing is always great. Like, oh, you're from Chicago. I hate to tell you, but I hate deep dish. I'm a thin crust guy. Stupid example, but you got to tease a little. And I always tell guys you should be talking 25% of the time. Girls should be talking 75% of the time. Get them to open up because the whole thing. Like I tell these guys, maybe I'm wrong, but I tell these guys at the end of the speed date, the girl should be saying, oh my gosh, that guy seems so cool, but I almost don't know anything about him. I want to get to know him more. And that's kind of a perfect segue into getting to know him more. But okay, there's
Okay.
my,
No,
yeah,
I love it. If that's where you're, I thought you meant if they didn't meet anybody, had not to be discouraged. Everything you just said is spot on. Another thing that I'll say too is like a lot of questions about the weather. And like a lady does not, a girl, a young woman, she doesn't want to get dressed up for a date, even if it is virtual, and be asked about the weather. Literally don't care. Could not care less. We were always taught growing up that, like you just said, if you will allow someone to talk about themselves, we love to talk about ourselves. We love to hear our name, and we love to talk about ourselves. And so if you can leave a date and you talked about yourself as a woman, like we feel like you were great. And it's vice versa, by the way. But like definitely that would be a tip that I have for sure. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Talk
I would
less.
say required reading is, obviously the Bible and the Catechism, but right underneath that, it would be How to Win Friends and Influence People by, I think his name was Dale Carnegie. I can't remember his name. I don't know,
The
but
last name sounds right. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
something like
His
that.
name might be Dale.
Yeah, it's required. I would definitely say it's required reading. I say another thing too, common mistake I see is guys asking closed-ended questions. How are you? Good. How's the weather? Good. Are you feeling good? Are you excited? Yes. And it's like the just one word answers. You have to kind of open it up. I always tell guys, easiest way to open a conversation is ask her where she's from and start bantering on the location. Talk about the sports team. I don't know. That's just kind of my advice. But I also liked so the previous answer that you gave like about getting discouraged. I feel like you just have to
Yeah.
have a realistic mindset because whether it's Candid Dating or other dating apps or in-person speed dating or your local parish Bible study, you have to realize that I always use the analogy of a rookie that just started his baseball career. He's not going to hit a grand slam in his first game. So, if he hits
So
it's
true.
possible to hit a grand slam in your first game, but it's probably not going to happen. Same thing with dating. It took me, I think I had, of course, chased. I had 14 different, like, either first dates that went nowhere or like relationships that lasted anywhere from like a month to a year before I met my now wife. So I always tell guys, God knows your number. For me, it was girl number 14. For you, it might be girl number 3 or 10 or 20. So you just have to, the only way to lose is to quit. As long as you don't quit, you're going to meet her. So just keep trying. And the beauty of Candid is, hey, you can keep trying because it's not like one of these dating apps that's a ghost town where it's got like no users or fake profiles or anything like
True.
that. So
Very
yeah,
true.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
And
that was
then,
another thing that we saw at Seek too, was like, especially with the guys, a very strong like the fear of rejection was unlike anything that I'd ever seen. And I'll just say this, like speaking as a woman, but I feel like it used to be kind of a rite of passage. Like your palm should be a little sweaty and your friend should be kind of like poking fun at you. That's just like part of the game. And if you think that the first woman that you ever speak to and approach is going to be your wife, like you said, maybe, probably not though. And so you're probably going to want to have a little bit like of self-awareness and a little sense of security in doing that, and have a little bit of resilience too. So the way to do that is to get more reps. But that's what my husband always says. Like, and that's what we talked about as Teak was get more reps. Like go on Candid and get reps, and you get better. That's just how it works.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. And then the matching, is it done by hand, by a matchmaker? Is it done by algorithm? Is it kind of both?
It's a little bit of both. We created the algorithm, so we have a hand in that. So part of it is that. And then also I get in there sometimes, and because we get to know our users, like I talk to them and we see their names sometimes, a few times and sometimes over and over again. And so we learn by just talking to them, their preferences and like maybe people that they have to click with. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Mhm. Is
And the
that
Holy
kind of how
Spirit.
yeah, and the Holy Spirit, yes.
Yeah.
Is is that changing in the future, or how did that kind of like develop? Like, was it all manual at the beginning and now it's, half and half, or what does that look like?
In those first events that we did before we had like Candid, before we had our web-based platform, it was all manual, and it was intentional as we can make it. Um, but now I will say, like, you do have to sign up for an event in order for it to run. So maybe forbid I say like your perfect match is there, but if y'all haven't been on the same event yet, you would not have met her because you weren't both available at the same time. Our events that we have that are nationwide are our most popular, and we usually have, like I said, the most people sign up for those, and so we get a lot of matches on those events just because people like to sign up for them, so there's more options, more people for you to meet. But yeah, that algorithm runs, it still runs that way. When our app launches, we'll have a few tweaks that we've made, and I'm really excited to see how that works. We're beta testing that right now, but yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And then, are you allowed to say how many users there are? Because I'm curious. I know the ratio is really good, but like how many users total, and then like what ratio are guys to girls?
Yeah. Well, we doubled our user base after Seek. So we're at just under 10,000 ish users right now, which is really fun for us to see it grow like that. And then you asked another question.
What the ratio of guys to girls is?
Okay, yeah. So when we launched, it was like 70-30. I'd say now we're at about like 60-40. So guys are still in the minority, but they're catching up, which is good. But I would say these last probably 4 months have been the most balanced that our events have been, just because the guys are starting to find us. Like, as we talked about, the ladies were really where we got our, like, the majority of our users when we
Mhm.
launched. And so, yeah, it's starting to even out, but guys, the numbers are still in your favor, which is still unheard of. So
The crazy part is you could still have, I'm just thinking of other dating platforms where the ratio is like, 20/80, 20% um, women, 80% guys. And you can still find success even with that ratio. So then I'm just thinking like 50/50 or 40/60. And I'm like, holy cow, that makes it much more probable to get like a really good date or a
yeah,
really good relationship or, God willing, your marriage out of,
yeah,
this singular event. So yeah.
yeah. We have a few of those. It's awesome. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been
What
really
has, what are, tell me about some success stories. Like I'm a really math guy, so all the guys inside my coaching program, I know exactly, how many dates they're getting, how many relationships, or how long it takes into it. I think the fastest I've ever done is I had a guy meet a girl 2 months in and they're engaged now. So that's the fastest I've
amazing.
ever done. But
Wow.
I mean, from what I've heard, your numbers are just as good, if not better. So tell us about some of the success stories.
Yeah, we had our first, like, we've had a couple marriages, but our first official, like, since our latest launch last February, they met on one of our early events. And it's funny because they didn't even pay for it. Whenever we launched, and people started signing up, our payment processor pulled out, and like it was a whole thing. Like, our site broke and all that good stuff. So for the first few months, we just let people sign on and book events. And Alicia and Marcel met on one of those early February events, and they just got married last month. And so that was really fun for us. They're on our Instagram. We posted them last week. So that was really fun for us to get to know them and like watch their story from beginning to end. Like I mentioned, that first event that we did back in the computer lab is how my business partners met, and they got married. We have a candid, like, off-site couple that met outside of the app, but we had a hand in that, so that's always fun. And then we have several couples. We have a couple that's getting married this fall, which is exciting. We get messages all the time, and the Lord will send them to us like at the worst times. Like, we'll have something not working properly or whatever. Like, what have you, just things, the day-to-day in running the business, right? Like, that's just part of running a business. And then we'll get an email or a text or like a Instagram message with a photo of a couple who met on Candid. And so that's really exciting for us. We have several couples that came out of the Seek event that we did last year. So that's fun. Yeah, it's always a surprise. Like, I don't know if you feel this way. We believe in what we're doing, and we know that the process works. But whenever we see like a couple actually together living their life, it's like, oh my gosh, like we helped plant that seed for you. And it's really rewarding and it's really exciting, but it's fun to see. We also have a couple of couples who dated long term, like several months, and then ended up going their separate ways. And I think it's really interesting because all of those couples that we know of that we had contact with, at least like the male or the female reached out and said, hey, like, our relationship ended, but we were really grateful. Like, I was really grateful to get to meet, XYZ. It was one of the best relationships I've ever had, and it was totally like centered around our faith. And I think that's really cool too, that you can take a win out of a relationship, because like discerning out of a relationship is still a success. And so I definitely still find like really awesome encouragement in those couples that have dated and just maybe figured out like that they got what they were supposed to learn from that relationship and parted ways.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I even saw that in my own life. Like I said, my wife was girl number 14, and I had like a couple
Yeah.
of relationships leading up to that. The
Yeah.
girl right before her, I thought I was gonna marry her. We didn't get engaged, but like we were close. But it really gave me, especially that last one, it gave me clarity on like, she did X, Y, and Z, and that was not like kind of my personal preference in a relationship. And I did, she brought X, Y, and Z out of me, and I didn't like how I acted in this relationship. So it was really
Mm.
nice to then I met my wife, a month later, well, my to be wife a month later, and it just kind of everything fell into place. So yeah,
Yeah. It happens
it's
fast. That's
yeah,
another thing too. Some people say they'll say like, well, I want to meet my person like out in the wild, or like I want to meet my wife, like I just want to bump into her on the street. And I tell them like, that's cute and fine, but once you meet, and you can give me your thoughts on this, like once you meet the person that you are going to marry, you literally don't care how you met them. Like, I could have cared less how I met Logan, but he's mine and we're married, and he's like the man that I was supposed to marry, and I could have met him like, I don't even know, like give you the most crazy, ridiculous way to meet someone. I don't care. Literally wouldn't have
yeah.
mattered, because now I'm with him, and that's all that I like really cared about. So
Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought this up because I love to hammer on this because like I'll have guys come to me and they're like, I want to meet, my future wife like my grandma met my grandpa. And I'm like, well, hey, buddy, it's not 1940 anymore. Like, unfortunately, you're most likely not going to go outside and see a traditional minded Catholic girl who
yeah.
wants to have a ton of kids and, go to adoration and confession and mass and blah, 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 blah. So it's like you kind of got to update with the times. And the same thing too is these guys, you got me going. This is great. So these guys are like, oh, I want to find a wife organically, but then they get all their entertainment on YouTube. They make all their friends through Discord and video games, and then they find a job on Indeed. And it's like, so you find, your job, your friends, and your entertainment on social media apps. But then when it comes to dating apps, all of a sudden you're like, nah, man, no, that's not for me. It's just like, it's so inconsistent. And then exactly what you said, Taylor, you're 100% right. It's like, whether you meet her at a coffee shop, at mass, on Candid, on any other app or whatever, it's like once you get her phone number, it's the exact same thing no matter how you meet her. Because you walk up to her at a Bible study, you're cute, I want to get to know you, give me your number and I'll plan a date. Or you're on a dating app and you're like, hey, you're cute, I want to get to know you, give me your number. It's like once you get that number, it's identical, completely
So
identical.
true. I'm gonna use
And
that. That's a great
yeah,
way to break it down. I mean,
yeah,
say, so you're saying the
completely
same thing,
identical.
but I like how you said that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're doing this a long time, like three
Yeah.
years or so. Okay. So yeah, I love that it gave me the opportunity to harp on that because that's
Yeah.
always really yeah. I think the last thing I'll say too is I think sometimes it's like guys just kind of get this mindset of withdrawal. Like, or they're just kind of like, I'm going to be withdrawing from the dating game because I got burned in my last relationship, or I tried the dating apps and swiping and it wasn't working for me. So I'm just going to completely withdraw and I'm just going to wait on God. Like, I love when guys say that, I'm going to wait on God. It's like, hey, we believe, we believe faith without works is dead. It's like pretty similar with the dating life. It's like, you can't just wait on God to magically drop your wife in your lap. But okay, I have, I have pontificated long enough. So I guess we can kind of transition. I'm trying. Oh, I
Okay.
did have a business question. So, I'm a
Okay.
business owner too. What payment processor do you use?
Right now we're using like a nonprofit type payment processor, but the one that we were trying to use, well, we're looking again at Swipe or at Stripe for the app, but PayPal is what pulled out
Mhm.
whenever they realized that we were a faith-based. Um, yeah,
That's terrible.
I know, but they
I
also work with other faith-based like organizations. So I didn't really understand that one, but that's fine.
Yeah,
And then
I won't get too into it, but Peter Thiel, the owner of PayPal, horrible guy, horrible guy.
I don't
But
know
okay,
people
that's
that I trust.
separate. Yeah, Peter Thiel. Oh yeah, he's also in charge of Palantir, which is okay. I'm getting into like the political stuff, but yeah, 100%. I was gonna say what I use is I use fan bases. So I love fan bases. I always
Okay.
recommend fan bases to people, just fan bases. I've also used WOP, WHOP. That's really good.
Okay.
So I'd say WOP and fan bases are my two favorites. The people in the audience are probably falling asleep with the business talk, but yeah, that's great.
Oh, good.
I use Stripe too, but like I had a guy who like it was totally unfair. He like asked for a refund and then my Stripe account got frozen and they took money from me. I had like a couple $1,000s in like my balance and I never got it back. So yeah,
That's the
but
worst.
PayPal, boo, Peter Thiel, boo. Okay. Um, Now let's we can kind of like zoom out and go a little bit more macro. Like you can just be honest. Like what do you think of other Catholic dating options? Like, dating apps, high ticket matchmaking services, or just trying to
Yeah.
meet someone at church. Like what do you think of those services or apps compared to, well, I guess that's one question. It's like, what do you think about those services? And then, Candid Dating, like, how does that kind of capitalize or maybe improve on weaknesses that you see or whatever you think? That
Sure.
question was so convoluted. Hopefully it made sense to
That's
you.
okay. Yeah, no, I one thing that we are in agreement on at Candid is our overarching mission is to help rebuild the church with holy families. And when you work backwards, that's introducing people to one another who would potentially be able to get married and raise families specifically in the church. And so any way that you can do that, any way that we can achieve our goal of helping families form and families in the church form, we are in full support of. I know people who have met their spouses on every every app and every way that you can meet, and like thanks be to God that we have holy couples out there that are meeting and getting married and then like starting their lives and raising families in the church. So that's definitely how I feel about that. And then as far as like how we're different, we just want to give you an option that's not swiping. That was our whole mission, is to help foster families, like give people an opportunity to meet to then raise holy families. And then also what swiping was doing, like how it's infiltrated our culture, and like the byproduct of that, how it's made us act and react in dating. We wanted to give people an option, give Catholics an option specifically to date without that, without the filters, without the curated profile and like photoshopped photo, and then like the silly little bio that like your friend helped you make that you didn't even actually write, like that you like love a patio with chips and salsa, which was probably mine. That's probably why it came to mind. But you know what I mean? Like we just wanted to give you an option to connect intentionally and give you a place to go where you could do just like what we're doing now, connect, like get back to connecting and being real.
Were there any things so you talked about there were a ton of girls coming to you, a ton of guys coming to you, and it kind of organically became this thing. Were there any problems in kind of like the dating world, whether it's the swiping or the matchmaking or anything, where you're like, okay, we can kind of improve on this in Candid because we're hearing this from all our, potential users?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the things was like the endless swiping, right? Like being presented with what seems to be 100 options. Like, you actually don't have 100 options. You truly don't. And that sounds crazy, and like people don't want to believe that because we've been living in this world where everything is like you feel like you have, option overload, but like you don't. And so the endless swiping was one thing, the dead profiles was another. The endless messaging, so being able to message back and forth without having to make a move, and then having no accountability to move forward, or like with the ghosting, that was something that we really felt like was a pain point, that people would come to us and say like, I'm so glad that I can actually speak to someone, kind of like you mentioned earlier, and not have to feel like we're messaging back and forth with like no intention of taking it off app. We have a feature on Candid, we've played with it, we've turned it on and off, but like where if you don't have a conversation in the first 48 hours of you matching, then you're unmatched. So that was to kind of like give incentive to like, hey, let's either like take this off app or like not waste each other's time. And so retraining the way that we think about dating and the way that we see the human person behind the screen, right? Because behind that photo that you're swiping on is a person with dignity and worth, and was made in the image and likeness of God. And so just like reintroducing that in a way that people can like visually see it and interact with it, instead of getting used to seeing people behind a screen.
Mm-hmm.
You're still
Yeah.
behind a screen, but you're able to interact. Like, you can see that
You're
I have a
talking.
smile and like a laugh and a sense of humor, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't fake your height. You can't, whiten your teeth and sharpen your eyebrows and all that stuff when it's just a live Zoom call. And also, you get way more. Well, I was going to say, like, text is such a truncated method of conversation, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's no body language, there's no tonality, there's no facial expressions, and so yeah, it really works well.
Yeah, we
Um,
were talking about that the other day at like a team dinner that we had. Like there's no substitute sometimes for like an in-person conversation, or at least a phone call, but at least with Candid, like you're able to see one another.
yeah, yeah, and so a little bit more brass tacks. How much does an event cost? I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks to sign up for an event, right?
14.99 to sign
Even
up for.
better.
Yeah, 14.99, and you meet, like I said, 5 to 7 people. Whenever our app launches, we'll have the price points for you. I can send you all that info too if you'd like to share. I don't know if you have like a newsletter or something. We can talk about that later. That's also business. But yeah, so right now, if you were to go to Candid today, you would meet 5 women minimum for 14.99.
Yeah, phenomenal. I'm just thinking of like another this us matchmaking by return. It's a service. People have gotten married. It's fantastic. Problem is the price tag is 3 grand and you get 3 matches for 3 grand. And so for the guy who's like, hey, I don't have 3 grand to spend right now. And so it's like, hey, Candid, 14 bucks, you get 5 to 7. So it's like, holy
Yeah,
cow. For those guys who are a little bit tighter on cash, it's really nice. It's
sure.
really nice to kind of have that option. So yeah, that's great. Um, for let's see, what was my next question? I guess, what is your long-term vision for Candid? Like, obviously, how long's it been? Like 1 or 2 years, maybe three? Like,
Yeah,
where do you see this in 5 and 20? Like, where do you want to be with the app?
yeah, we would love to be like worldwide, wherever the church is, we can be. So wherever there are single faithful Catholics wanting to meet one another, we hope that we can be there to help them and introduce them to one another. And we definitely have plans, big plans. But I would say, like at the end of that, yes, my goal would be for us to be reaching wherever Catholics are, but then also just to continue to be a place where Catholics can come and foster connections that are real and intentional, and be a place where they can meet and hopefully start their families, or at least the
Yeah,
beginning of their
yeah,
stories.
that's fantastic. Again, yeah. Guess kind of like wrapping the interview up, and where people find the service, how can they sign up?
Yeah, we are at candidating.net, and that is where you can sign up. Our socials, candid_dating on all platforms. And if you follow us on Instagram, you will be getting updates and notifications about the app launch that's coming next month in September. I don't know when this is going to launch, or when you'll post this
Awesome.
video, but in September. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we will
Thank
be
you.
eagerly waiting for the new launch. It was great having you on, Taylor, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.